Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's a Batman week, and we're heading into the Joker War. So today I am going to review Batman 94, and we also are going to set up, how we've gotten through their dark designs going into Joker War. As it turned out, this ended up being kind of like the prelude to Joker War. And here with me to kind of review this and then hash out where we're heading in the future is my good friend Nalo. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Wes. And we're finally at the end of this arc. We covered the beginning, and looks like we're heading into the next big event.
Yeah, so we definitely called it. The designer was a plot device. Maybe not exactly what we thought he was there for, but it's certainly that what the character was there, introduced it to be to move into the Joker War. Now, I do think Batman 92 has been a high point thus far for James Tynion's Batman run. And then I thought 93 kind of came down a little bit, not quite as exciting, but still a good issue. But this one here, while I do enjoy it, and I certainly do recommend it, it is a filler issue.
It is a filler issue. It's almost like the issue before was kind of the climax and conclusion of this arc, but this one was a bit more about tying up loose ends. I liked it because it kind of fit with this design theme Tynion introduced, with kind of sketches that Bruce had and some more backstory and lore about the designer. But it is very much dust has settled and get ready for what's next kind of issue.
We do learn some information, which we're going to get into, but let's talk about the art first. And this is something that kind of bothered me about Batman 93. There are two artists in here. At the beginning, we meet a new character. His name is Cassander, Wycliffe Baker, and it turns out he's kind of like Sherlock Holmes. He's the detective that fought the designer back in the day and lost to him. Bruce was seeking him out to train him how to be a detective himself, and that is illustrated by, I believe it's Rafael Albuquerque, and then Guillem March comes on and illustrates the parts that are more contemporary in today's timeline. The Guillem March stuff, he's really grown on me. I was a little bit disappointed when Tony Daniel wasn't the full-time artist on Batman after it was kind of insinuated he would be. But I do think he's been doing an excellent job. He's got a really nice gothic style that fits the character, fits the story that James Tynion's been doing. But I don't know that Rafael Albuquerque fits it so much. The characters are much less menacing. Obviously, it's a jump back in time as a flashback. It doesn't quite fit the visuals of the book to me.
Yeah, me either. It may have been intentional to kind of make Bruce look so boyish and kind of young, but it almost doesn't really seem like it fits in this comic universe. It almost looks like an anime character. It doesn't really make sense because it kind of shows that he's in this training period, traveling the world, meeting all these different masters, and you would think that, the art style could probably be more in line with the rest of the book because this kind of fits that tone as well. So I don't know why they had to kind of mix it up for that. I don't know if it's just for the sake of a flashback, or what do you think, Wes?
Well, it is because it's a flashback and they could use two artists. I'm sure that they needed to make up some time, which is fine. I just don't think that his style quite fit in with Guillem March's. I do think Guillem March did great. He's been bulletproof during his time with Tynion on Batman, and it definitely fits the style. Really good gothic designs. There's also I think it's the second to last page. There's this great visual of Batman in the rain, and then there's some panels in the middle kind of wrapping up the story as he's kind of escaping out. And I thought that was really like the high point visually for the story for me. So the visuals are good. I don't know that the other artist, Albuquerque, fits so much in with the storyline, but it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there's really great kind of color palettes in this Wayne Enterprises office where Bruce is, kind of this kind of like bronze, brown-ish, gold, yellow. It really matches well with previously Deathstroke being there, and that kind of is throughout the series, has this kind of very specific color scheme and code. And I also just really love this one 2-page spread where Batman's speaking to the Joker over the henchmen's iPhones, and that one was pretty well done.
Absolutely, yeah. That was actually really cool as well. So we like the art. It'd be better if March illustrated the whole book, but I don't know that they had that as an opportunity. Moving into the story, we do learn some new information about this Sherlock Holmes-esque character named Cassander Wycliffe Baker. Bruce, after he's finished up learning how to fight all over the world, he's seeking out the man that's going to teach him to become a detective, and he kind of he meets him, and we find out he's somewhat of a broken man at this point. He doesn't want to train him, and he feels like he's he kind of ran away from the designer like a frightened child and into obscurity.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the case, and I kind of like how this ties everything back together. And we learned previously the designer was able to beat the detective by taking a leap forward, and this guy kind of wants to see Bruce fail and also run away like a coward. But we learn that Bruce ultimately takes the leap that this guy couldn't, and he becomes Batman. So it's a kind of nice way to tie it together. The part I didn't understand, though, is that throughout the arc, Batman seemed to not know who the designer was and was completely baffled by his existence and was begging Catwoman for information about him. But here we learn Bruce knew about the designer back before he was even Batman. So it's a little confusing to me.
Little bit of a plot hole. I did think that was okay. I do think Bruce probably has a few too many mentors at this point, so I'm not extremely excited for Sherlock Holmes to be his newest mentor. But I guess if Tynion's going to introduce it in, it makes sense that Bruce would have been taught by Sherlock Holmes, aka Cassander Wycliffe Baker, to teach him how to be the world's greatest detective. And then we kind of jump in and we see where Bruce and Selina are at this very moment. Obviously, at the very end, Bruce had been stabbed through the leg by Slade Wilson. Punchline had shot Selina Kyle after she had transferred all of Bruce's funds over to Joker. Unbeknownst, she thought she was saving the money for him, but we didn't know where she was shot. And we see Bruce, he's struggling. He's got a knife in his leg. Finally, Lucius Fox comes over and informs him, they've already got your house. They're taking down the business right now. I can't support you. I have to go in and get in there as the CEO of your business and try and save that right now. And I just don't have it in me to do this kind of support. Pretty effective stuff. And obviously he's trying to find Selina so he can talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say this arc is pretty strong and definitely recommend. But in each issue, Tynion finds a way to throw something cringe in for me. Previously, it was a lot of Harley Quinn dialogue. For this, it's kind of a callback to Tom King's run where we have Batman on the phone with Catwoman. Cat, I miss you. I'm sorry. And the other thing is that while this is like a pretty fun setup for the Joker War event, which we can dive more into, I just want to point out this will be the second time in, I guess, less than a year that Gotham will be 100% taken over by a villain and be completely lawlessness. And it's a little bit like, haven't we just done this?
Certainly we have just done this, but now it's Joker. So it's even more important. So they do talk, and then Bruce is telling Lucius, hey, you need to get out of here because Joker's going to be looking for everybody. He's obviously looking to take down Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. He goes to the hospital where she's at so he can go and save her, and she's gone. And that's when the Joker's henchmen show up. And I find this one also weird. So the Joker killed the designer because the designer wanted him to kill Batman and Robin, and he did not want to kill Batman. That's the reason that he killed the designer and ruined the entire plan, correct?
As far as I can tell.
And then here he just orders his henchmen to unload his weapons and try and murder him in the hospital.
Yeah, I think the intention was to show that, you knew he would get away, but it kind of begs your suspension of disbelief that they're standing 5 feet away from him and have automatic weapons. How are all of them going to miss? Yeah,
so does he want to murder him or not?
And yeah, with the stakes high, like, I'm going to take your house, I'm going to take your business, I'm going to destroy the city, but also I'm just going to laugh at you at the end.
That's where the conversation that you talked about earlier with the great 2-page spread happens. And that was good stuff. And then kind of at the end, there was a really cool moment that I liked a lot. It's when Slade Wilson and the other mercenaries, including Cheshire, are kind of leaving, and he's looking over the city, and he's like, hey, I just want to look at Gotham one last time. I don't think we're ever going to come back here. Like, the city's never going to be the same again. It's never going to be welcoming. Or maybe Batman's never going to be there again.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. And like overall, I said, like, it's a pretty strong book, and I am looking forward to this event. And I do have to say that this kind of like assassin henchman plot was pretty well done as well. They flesh out a few more of those characters in the Batman Secret Files special. Not the strongest issue itself. It's an anthology, but you do get some interesting stories about those assassins. And I do like the kind of trick where you thought they were all working for the designer, and turns out it's part of this larger plot. But like we were saying before we started recording, it feels very showy-like, show-off-like, and you can kind of see the board piece, and you kind of can see the writer's intention and how everything's being set up over these 8 issues for the next big event. So you can kind of see through the book a bit, but it's very fun to read.
To me, that was the standout like character moment in there when Slade Wilson. It felt meaningful when he did that. And then we get the last big reveal It turns out Selina Kyle did not escape the hospital on her own. She was escorted out by none other than the Penguin, and he's got her. He kind of saved her because he knows what's going on, and he's going to ground, getting prepared for the Joker's war on Gotham City. And it turns out he's got an entire layer called the Cool Room, filled with all these villains, the Mad Hatter, we got the Scarecrow, and he's bringing her into the fold to protect her, heal her up as they get ready potentially to fight back against Joker in Gotham and potentially ally with Bruce Wayne and Batman later.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure. They also said that they were going to be sitting this one out because it'll be too dangerous. So I'm not sure if they'll, play a role in the story or not. It's pretty intense, though, to have every villain just say, you know what, we're going to take a knee for Joker here. And it's kind of similar to what happened with City of Bane. Every single villain was like, all right, Bane's in charge of this mission. So it does feel like kind of a rehash of, the city being taken over and Batman at his lowest. So it's kind of a recycled trope, but I think it's being done in a much better way.
Yeah, obviously it all does play into the designs, and Batman talks about that throughout the issue where Alfred thought he was designing the perfect Gotham, but really he was designing the nightmare Gotham that he was going to have to combat later on in his life. And you can see that this thing has been tormenting him his whole life, and then the final scene is him kind of trying to talk to Alfred. You can see there's a big missing piece. Lucius Fox can no longer serve that role. And, obviously he's a man apart. He's alone. Selina Kyle is with Penguin right now. Batman's alone. Lucius Fox apparently is with the Joker now, has him under his custody. We don't see the Bat family anywhere. We know Nightwing thinks that he is part of the Joker's family now. Where is the rest of the Bat family? We don't know, but they're certainly not helping.
Yeah, they're certainly not helping, but why I felt this issue was fulfilling is that it did kind of bring up the themes introduced in the beginning of the arc of these kind of Bruce's little scribbles and what Alfred thought and how Alfred missing is such a big hole in his life and it can't even be filled by Lucius. And the fact that, because of all these distractions, it's how there was able to see, as they say, Joker could find the cracks in the design and that he was able to kind of infiltrate at such a high level because it shows how much of a mess Bruce has been and Batman has been, and it's almost metaphorically after such a horrible 85 issues previously, he's such a vulnerable character now.
So obviously this ended up being, it was called Their Dark Designs, but really it could have been called Prelude to Joker War. This was basically just setting the table for the Joker War story arc, which is going to be pretty huge. It's spanning, Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, I think Batwoman, obviously Detective Comics, Batman. It's going to be a really big story arc. Bruce has no money. Joker has all of his toys now. He's also got Lucius Fox. He's also acquired Nightwing, who thinks that he was raised by the Joker. Selina Kyle is gone to ground. Bruce is all alone. Do you think they did a good job setting the table for Joker War moving forward? And what are you expecting in that story arc?
So I think they did too good of a job setting this up for Joker War. Like I was saying, that you can kind of just see the intentional steps everywhere of this just being one big setup. So I think it is very well set up. I think when we first heard of Joker War many months back, you or somebody else on a stream was saying, I never even heard of that. That's supposed to be a big event. Turns out it looks like it's going to be, just as big, potentially as Dark Metal, maybe not as big. But I'm excited to see these kind of one-shot event of I forget what it's called, but there's a Joker War Zone, I think, off. And I think this is going to be a pretty strong event that's kind of complementing all of what DC's doing. They seem to at least be taking steps in the right direction other than what's going on with Bendis. Having kind of a really strong brand where you can come in and expect quality storytelling and, it's punching above average. And I think that there's enough setup that the event could go strong and potentially start building up to an ongoing run with this writer. So I think if it's something that can go on for many more issues, it's a pretty strong start. And I think in retrospect, when you have this as a trade, it's going to be, a really good chapter 1.
So I did not read Detective Comics yet this week. I haven't been able to get to it. I know you did. Were there any other big things that we need to mention as far as the prelude to Joker War, setting the table as far as Peter J. Tomasi and Detective Comics?
Yeah, I think so. That's definitely not a key issue in terms of if you're wondering if they need to understand the plot. There's some excellent art depicting Joker. Not much there, but the only thing we do get is a bit more of a hint of how Joker has this new abilities of this kind of green toxin where he was able to control the designer remotely and seems to have been able to control some sort of zombie policeman in the sewers. He does say he has this serum that he got from an owl friend, so maybe it's from the Court of Owls. I don't know.
It is from the Court of Owls. They do have a chemical. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was mentioned from Kenneth Dowling, one of our viewers. I believe it was Kenneth Dowling, that the Court of Owls have that. He obviously acquired Nightwing's like crystal, like that has all of his memories, and he was able to rewrite it. That's why Nightwing thinks that he's part of the Joker family, and obviously he was able to acquire the chemical to reanimate corpses and control them.
Okay, so that's one more mystery solved. Yeah, so I think that, Joker War, it's just going to, Batman will probably win. It'll be a fun adventure, but hopefully this then sets up the Batman family to kind of be in a much better place.
What's interesting is they are promoting the Joker War as the end of an era, like the last time Joker and Batman are going to be battling it. Now, I don't believe that. Not for a second. But if they're promoting it that way, it makes me think either one, Batman's going to be dead at the end, or two, Joker's going to be dead at the end. I see no reason why they would be replacing Bruce Wayne as Batman anytime soon. Which one do you think is more likely, or am I just missing the boat and they're just saying that to get people to buy it?
Well, I just read Hawkman 25, and I think on the end it says, next issue, everyone dies. We mean it. So it might just be standard marketing. But I think it's more likely that they put Joker away for a while, but maybe Punchline is more likely to stay around. It looks like there's a big push to make her an important character.
Well, she's certainly been the standout character that he's introduced so far, and I'll give Tynion this. He's introduced a lot of new characters between the Designer, Underbroker, Punchline. They've all been pretty exciting. Punchline has definitely picked up the most buzz, but obviously Clown Hunter is coming. He seems like a kind of a weird character, like maybe Casey Jones-esque, like not really an ally of Batman, but maybe fighting for the same thing, to where they're going to eventually team up now that Batman has lost everything, doesn't have those wonderful toys, going to have to fall back on his detective skills and his training.
Yeah, and that might be kind of this filler issue alluding to Bruce's training before he was Batman and his core competencies, so we'll get to see him at his finest with very limited resources. I, for one,
am all for Bruce Wayne putting away the toys for a couple years and just getting back to basics, showing the readers that he is the world's greatest detective, that he doesn't need all the gadgets to do the work for him, that he can figure out who done it and catch some criminals all on his own. So I hope they do return to the basics of Bruce Wayne Batman and really get away from all the plot devices that just allow him to go from point A to point C without ever having to do the work in point B. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope so, because also this arc has been very technologically focused. He's had all this new kind of bat planes, a bat train, different kinds of scanning devices, and hopefully we can, get back
from a railgun.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff.
So I'm hoping that's what happens at the end of this. But I am excited for Joker War. I think they did a really good job, like you said, setting the table. Batman 92 was a high point. I thought 93 was good. This one's more filler, but certainly I recommend it. It's a good comic book, and if you're looking forward to Joker War, it's essentially must read.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to be reading Batman. It's kind of my guilty pleasure to buy these books, and they're a lot of fun right now.
All right, Nalo, I appreciate the time coming in and reviewing this with me. I think we're going to review Deceased, Dead Planet this weekend, right?
Yeah, looking forward.
All right, I'll see you then, my friend. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.